This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Glatstein. Welcome everyone to the Koilel Agar de Pirka here in Kew Gardens Hills, New York. As Yom Tov of Purim is approaching, we're going to speak about one of the mitzvahs hayom, one of the mitzvahs that is legislated midivrei hanavim, and that is the mitzvah of Mishloach Manos. We're going to begin with the very unusual psak of the Ramah. What if a person sends someone shalach manos? Reuven sends Shimon shalach manos, and Shimon says, "Thank you so much, so nice of you, really appreciate it, so thoughtful. Thanks, but no thanks. Not interested. The last thing I want is Laffy Taffy. It doesn't taste good. It spikes up your sugar levels, and the jokes aren't funny. I do not want your Laffy Taffy, and I don't need Kedem grape juice. I still have the one you gave me from 7 years ago and I didn't open, and the one from 6 years ago I already gave to somebody else, so no thanks." Are you Yotzei or not? In other words, if the recipient said, "I don't want it, it's not makabel," the Ramah paskins, if the recipient turns it down, says the Ramah, in Siman Tafrei Tzaddik case of Daled, number 1 on your sheet, Vim Shaleach Manos L'Reyehu V'hu Ein Rotzei L'Kablam Ay Moichaloi Yatza.
The mitzvah is Mishloach. The mitzvah is not L'Kabel.
If you send it and the recipient doesn't want to take it, you're Yotzei. What's the makar of the Ramah? The makar of the Ramah is Mahari Brun, or the Mahari Bruna. Comes the Pri Chadash, Reb Chizkiyahu di Silva, and the Pri Chadash says 4 words, Tema Dezeminayin. How does the Ramah know this? How does the Ramah know that if you send the Shalach Manos and the recipient doesn't want to take it, that you're Yotzei the mitzvah? Meaning, if we could add some commentary to the Pri Chadash's question, how does the Ramah know that the mitzvah is totally done on the part of the giver and the recipient doesn't need to be involved at all? But the Chassam Sofer comes and he elaborates further on the question of the Pri Chadash. He's mamik to try to explain what the kavana of the Pri Chadash was when he's asking, how does the Ramah know that he would be Yotzei? Because the truth is, the Karban Nesanel defends the Ramah. The Karban Nesanel Masechta Nedarim. The Karban Nesanel, actually, the Karban Nesanel is in the first parak of Masechta Megillah. He brings the raya to the Ramah from the Gemara Nedarim Adaf Samach Gimel. The Gemara says like this: Reuven makes a neder. I'm not going to get hana from you, Shimon, unless you give my kid a matana. So Reuven says to Shimon, I will not get benefit from you unless you give my son a matana. So Reuven could be mater his neder and he could say, Hareini ki'ilu hiskabalti. It's as if I received your gift. It's as if my kid received your gift. I only made the neder because I wanted a gift. It's as if I got the gift. And the halacha is, you can be mater the neder that way. We utilize the principle, Hareini ki'ilu hiskabalti. Therefore, says the Karban Nesanel, the pshat in the Ramah of why if you give someone shalach manos, he could say, and he could be moichel, and he could say thanks but no thanks. The same way you could be mater a neder by saying it's as if I received it, so too shalach manos you could be yotzei by the recipient utilizing the principle, it's as if I received the shalach manos. Okay? That is the logic of the Karban Nesanel. Comes the Chassam Sofer, and the Chassam Sofer says, no, the Karban Nesanel does not have a good analogy from the case of Nadarim. Why? Because the Gemara over there says you could only say Hareini ki'ilu hiskabalti is if the purpose of the gift was for the benefit of the recipient. So the recipient could say, I only did it because I wanted it, so I don't need it, so it's ki'ilu hiskabalti. But if I wanted you to give the gift because I wanted you to have the kavod, so if I don't accept it, if my son doesn't accept it, you don't have the kavod. So if the kavana is for the noisein, so then you can't say ki'ilu hiskabalti. If the kavana is for the makabel, you could say hareini ki'ilu hiskabalti. Therefore, says the Chassam Sofer, how does the Ramah know, and this is the kasha of the Pri Chadash, how does the Ramah know shalach manos is for the recipient? Maybe shalach manos is for the giver. If it's for the recipient, maybe the recipient could say, it's ki'ilu I did it. But if it's for the giver, then the giver didn't give it. But then the Chassam Sofer says we're going to flip it the other way. And the Chassam Sofer explains as follows. Says the Chassam Sofer, looking around through the Achronim, we know there's a mitzvah of Mishloach Manos. But what's the reason for Shalach Manos? Why should you give Shalach Manos? Why should you take a bottle of grape juice and a pineapple, wrap it in saran wrap with a ribbon, and give it to your friend? For what purpose? For what reason? He doesn't have enough pineapples?
So he sticks them.
What? Why are you giving him Shalach Manos? For what purpose? So, the Terumas Hadeshen in Siman Kuf Yud Aleph, Rabbi Yisrael Isserlin, one of the great Rishonim, who, by the way, wrote his own Shilas, the Terumas Hadeshen deals with the following question: could you be Yotzei Shalach Manos with blankets, with sheets, with quilts? Could you be Yotzei Shalach Manos? And the Terumas Hadeshen says that in his opinion, you're not Yotzei. Why? Because the reason for Shalach Manos is to ensure that everybody has enough food for the Suda. Maybe somebody will not be able to afford it. Maybe somebody will be financially strapped. Maybe somebody will be have a difficult circumstance and they won't have enough food for the meal. So therefore we ensure everyone has food for the meal. How? By exchanging gifts. This way everybody will end up having enough food for the Suda. In fact, says the Terumas Hadeshen, how do I know the purpose of Shalach Manos is so that everyone has food for the Suda? He quotes the Gemara in the beginning of Megillah that Abaye Bar Abin and Rav Chanina Bar Abin, it's number 3 on your sheets, would exchange their Sudais one with the other, and they were Yotzei Shalach Manos. So we see the purpose of Shalach Manos is for the Suda. And, says the Terumas Hadeshen, a maneh is only food. A maneh is only food. And the Rambam likewise paskins that way. The Rambam, of course, says you need to send to your friend 2 food items. Not like they taught you in kindergarten that it has to be 2 separate brachos, which is absolutely absurd, and it's probably apikarsos because it's a blatantly wrong halacha. You do not have to say 2 different food items. If somebody teacher distorts the halacha, it's like Yeharg V'al Yaver. How can you tell people they have to send 2 different brachos? There's no such halacha. It's leihaya v'lei nivra. But anyway, on a different subject, but at the very least it has to be food. There's no minhag Yisrael to give 2 different brachos. No, nobody. What? There's no such minhag. There's no such minhag.
Yeah, but it's minhag.
No. What? You need 2 items. Not 2 brachas. You can give 2 chocolate bars. You can give 2 pineapples. You can give 2 bottles of grape juice. Why not? It's a befer Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says, "Shtei manos shel basar." What other bracha do you make on meat? You make a mezainas on there are different types of meat. Shnei manos basar. Shnei minei tavshil. Shnei minei da'ichlin. No such halacha that has to be 2 different brachos. Anyway, if you came here just to hear that, it was kedai. But says the Terumas Hadeshen, the halacha is it has to be a food item, and the reason for Shalach Manos is so that people have enough food for the Suda. Says the Chassam Sofer, according to the Terumas Hadeshen, if the recipient does not want to accept it, if the recipient says thanks but no thanks, you will not be Yotzei the mitzvah. Why will you not be Yotzei the mitzvah? He says, I already have enough food for the Suda. Why do you have to insist that he's makabel the food? Says the Terumas Hadeshen, the same way we know from the end of Masechta Tainis, we know that on Tu B'Av, or on Yom Kippurim, the Bnei Yisrael would go out dancing, and everybody would wear borrowed clothing. Everybody would wear borrowed clothing. So the Gemara asks, why would the wealthy girls wear borrowed clothing? So the Gemara says, Kadei shelo yevayesh, those who had. So what do we see from here? That when it comes to tzedakah, when we need to institute tzedakah, everyone has to be makabel. Likewise, if the purpose of Shalach Manos is to make sure that everyone has food for the Suda, then if the recipient says thanks or no thanks, I don't want to be makabel, you will not be Yotzei the mitzvah, because in order not to embarrass those who don't have, we have to make sure that everybody is makabel the Shalach Manos. This is the pshat of the Terumas Hadeshen. However, says the Chassam Sofer,
he just doesn't use it. You go to a door and you go with Shalach Manos.
And he doesn't eat it?
I don't know if they're going to use it or not. Maybe out of town or something.
You don't know if they're home? Here it's better. You know they're home and they don't want it. They say, get it off my doorstep. Okay. And they send a dog out against you, and the police come and you're running for your life back home. According to the Ramah, you're Yotzei the mitzvah.
Now, according to the other one who says not Yotzei.
What?
According to the one who says not Yotzei, because he doesn't want it. What happens if he doesn't reject it, he just doesn't use it?
He just doesn't eat it? But you gave it to him, you offered it to him. I have a question, you give an ani tzedakah. And he puts in his bank account, and he passes on, and he yarshins it to his kids, and his kids to his kids. You're yoytze the mitzvah, you know. Okay. So Rav Rabbi Glatstein says the Chassam Sofer, according to the Terumas Hadeshen, you will not be yoytze. But says the Chassam Sofer, I found another reason for Shalach Manos. This reason was found in the great Manos Halevi, Reb Shlomo Al-Kabitz, the author of L'Chadoidi. And he writes in a number of places, in Perek Tes, Pasuk Tezayin, Perek Tes, Pasuk Chaf Gimel, he writes the following words. He says, Oid, if you look at number 7, the lashon he uses is Oid hoisifu haprazim abnei Shushan u'mishloach Manos. Why? Ki roimes ki heim ba'aguda achas u'bi'ava u'bi'achva hepech ma she'amar hatzoyer mefuzar u'mefayrad. Meaning like this. Haman came to Achashverosh and he said, Achashverosh, you're going to be successful in destroying Klal Yisrael because they're a disparate nation, they have no unity, they have no achdos. So in order, and Achashverosh says, Azoi, really? The Jewish people are not unified? We will be successful. And therefore, in order to counteract that accusation and to show that Haman was wrong and to show we have unity and to show we have achdus, we give Laffy Taffies to each other and battles of Kedem. This way it promotes unity, that you thought of me, I thought of you. Or the best are, in lieu of a Shalach Manos, a donation in your honor has been made to some organization. I mean, shkoyach, so what are you telling me about it? I don't know. Why do you have to send me something in the mail that you gave money to somebody else? Good for you. But I don't know what that is. That ain't no matanas le'avyonim and not Mishloach Manos. Give money to an organization. What do I need to know about it for? But anyway. The reason we give a Mishloach Manos, according to the Manos Halevi, is to be marbe ava v'yachas amores. So says the Chassam Sofer, if the person says thanks but no thanks, you already created the goodwill, you created friendship, so then l'chayra you would be yotzei the mitzvah. Says the Chassam Sofer, now I understand the Pri Chadash's kasha. Pri Chadash is asking on the Ramah. Ramah, I understand that if you hold like the Manos Halevi, that the reason for Shalach Manos is to create friendship, if the person doesn't want to receive it, so you'll still be yotzei. But how do you know that the reason for Shalach Manos is for the giver, that the giver shows goodwill? Maybe the purpose of Shalach Manos is for the recipient, that the recipient has to have food for the Suda. In that case, you won't be yotzei. In other words, the kasha of the Pri Chadash, according to the Chassam Sofer, is Pri Chadash is asking Ramah, how do you know the Manos Halevi is right in his reason for Shalach Manos? Maybe the correct reason for Shalach Manos is the Terumas Hadeshen, who holds that the reason for Shalach Manos is so that people have food for their Suda. And in that case, if the recipient turns it down, l'chayra, you should not be yotzei. So basically, we've set up very clearly that there are two reasons given in the Achronim for Shalach Manos. Terumas Hadeshen learns it's so people have what to eat by the meal. The Manos Halevi learns to create friendship, and so far we have one nafkamina that between these reasons, if the recipient says thanks but no thanks. So what we're going to do today is examine a number of very interesting nafkaminas. We're going to see that there are other reasons brought in the Achronim for Shalach Manos, and we'll on our journey we'll come across a number of very important halachas. Okay, let's discuss another answer to the Manos Halevi. So Rabbi Nir mentioned, maybe there's another pshat in the Ramah. Maybe the Ramah who paskins, now if the Ramah paskins that if you merely offer Shalach Manos and the person turns it down, you're yotzei, it sounds like the Ramah is paskining like the Manos Halevi, that the reason for Shalach Manos is to be marba ava v'yachva. Comes the Shas Teshuvas Binyan Sion. Who's the Binyan Sion? Binyan Sion was none other than Rav Yaakov Ettlinger, the author of the Archlener. And he is dealing with the following question. He wants to know, how does the Ramah know that if you offer someone Shalach Manos, how does the Mari Brun know, that this one is not on the sheet, that if you offer someone Shalach Manos, you're going to be yotzei? Why should you be yotzei? He says very simply, by Matanos le'evyonim, it says, you give what to the Evyon? What do you do to the Evyon? You send? No, you don't send. matana, you're noisein, you give. But by manos, it doesn't say matanois manos or matanois shamanos, v'noisein manos. It says mishloach. Why does it say the word send by manos? We know the word noisein is more appropriate for manos. Remember in Sefer Shmuel, it says v'nosan lepnina manos ulachana yitain mana achas. So we see the word nesina is appropriate for a mana. So why by shalach manos doesn't it say v'noisein or yinasein or v'tinasein? No, it says umishlayach. Why not umatanois? Says the Binyan Siyain, the language employed by the pasuk is a raya to the Ramah. That from here the Ramah derives that when it comes to shalach manos, you do not have to give it. You don't need the giving implies there's a recipient. Sending could imply there's no recipient. You know, you send someone a ticket in the mail, whether there's a makabel or not. You sent it. A gift implies there's a recipient. Says the Binyan Siyain, the fact that the Torah, the fact that the Navi changes by Mishloach Manos from the word matana to Mishloach, that indicates that all you have to do is send it. And from here, the Ramah derives that if you send Shalach Manos and the recipient turns it down, you're Yotzei. Says the Binyan Siyain, this answers a question I was bothered by my whole life. Question: if you give a woman a ring and you say Hareya Mekudesh Asli, what happens to you? You're married. What if you tell Ruvain, give Ploinus a ring and say Hareyat Mekudesh Asli Ruvain? Also married. Why are you married? Shliach Shal Adam K'maisa. So we know a shliach could be like you. The question is, could you be like a shliach? Say, what does that mean? Could you be like you? What if you had to do something through shlichus? But you never do. Maybe there is. What if you have to do something through shlichus? Let's say the Torah said, do this, but through an agent. Could you do it yourself? No. Because shliach shel adam k'maisai. But k'maisai is not like your shliach. Your shliach could be like you, but who said you could be like your shliach? So it says the Binyan Siyain, my whole life I was plagued. The Torah says, umishloach manos. You need to send manos, which implies through a shliach. So l'chayra, if you give shalach manos yourself, it should come out lo yatsa. And I never saw in any reputable pasuk that says that you must give shalach manos through a shliach. Why not? It says mishloach manos. You got to send it, and if you do it yourself, you're not sending it. Now I understand. Because Mishloach doesn't mean I have to send it. Mishloach is just teaching me the halacha of the Ramah, that if I offer it and he refuses, you're still Yotzei. But it's not saying that you have to send it. But then the Binyan Siyain says, maybe not, I'm not sure. Maybe not, I'm not sure. And therefore the Binyan Siyain ends off, Mikal Makom, ulai lechatchila tov yoser l'shloach al yedei acher. Maybe it's taka better to give a shalach manos through a shliach. Now, if you read the words of the Binyan Siyain carefully, does it sound like he's paskening you must give it through an agent? Absolutely not. It sounds like he's explaining why nobody brings down the halacha that you have to give shalach manos to an agent. Why not? But it says send it. Sending it just means if the guy turns it down, you're Yotzei. But he says maybe lechatchila it's better to give a shalach manos to an agent. Now I want to read to you a Mishnah Berurah, and you tell me if this is what the Binyan Siyain is saying. Okay, I'm quoting you the words precisely. B'tshuvas Binyan Siyain, Simin Mem Daled, Nestapek, Emhevi ba'atzmai v'lo al yedei shliach iyatza. If you look in the Binyan Siyain, Simin Mem Daled, he's mesupik. If you bring shalach manos yourself, are you Yotzei? Kivan d'chsevu mishloach, neima d'beyinon dafka al yedei shlichus. From the Mishnah Berurah, it sounds like the way he quotes the Binyan Siyain is that the Binyan Siyain has a full-fledged suffix that perhaps if a person gives shalach manos himself, you're not going to be Yotzei. It's at least a 50-50 suffix, the way the Mishnah Berurah says it over. But if you look at the Binyan Siyain, he doesn't say that. He says that now, based on my explanation for the Ramah, why if you offer Shalach Manos and the guy turns it down, you're Yotzei, this would explain why it's not brought la halacha that Shalach Manos has to be through a Shliach, but maybe it's better to, in other words, if you look up the Binyan Sion, giving a Shalach Manos through a Shliach would seem to be only a Hiddur, a Chumrah, a Chadchila, and yet the way the Mishnah Berurah brings it down, it seems like it's a serious suffix. So in the Shas Tshuvas Tzitz Eliezer, Chelek Tes, Siman Lamed Gimel, Ois Daled. He's bothered by this question. He says the Mishnah Berurah's quote of the Binyan Sion gives you the impression that if you don't do it through a Shliach, perhaps you're not Yotzei. The Binyan Sion never said that. So I guess there are two ways of learning. You can learn the Mishnah Berurah maybe holds personally that it is a suffix, or that the Mishnah Berurah, the impression that we get from the Mishnah Berurah is really not the impression that we should be getting from the Mishnah Berurah. And this is a very big lesson in why you can't just learn a sefer and say, well, he says X, Y, and Z, so that's what you always have to look up the source. Because here's a prime example. The Mishnah Berurah is quoting the Binyan Sion as if you're not Yotzei. If you look up the Binyan Sion, he says you are Yotzei. So you always have to look up the source.
Why can't you say it's a filu shliach?
That what?
It doesn't have to do with shliach, but even a shliach is good.
Of course the shliach is good.
Shliach is definitely
No, but here it sounds like this is like a tcheler. Maybe the way it says
no, but the Binyan Sion has...
tell you that he doesn't have to do it personally.
Yeah, but that's not what the Binyan Sion says.
Away.
No, the Binyan Sion says, perhaps l'chatchila, you should do it dafka through a shliach. But the way the Mishnah Berurah quotes it is that if you don't do it through a shliach, maybe you're not yotzei. That ad kedei kach the Binyan Sion never went. Lamaisa halacha lamaisa. Rav Shlomo Zalman writes in Halicha Shloimei and Purim Parak Yotes Archas Halacha 44. Medina, you do not have to be makbid to do it through a shliach. Number one, you can't be mechadesh a din based on a word in a pasuk. You're not going to make up a halacha based on a word. Oh, it says mishloach. It must be you have to do it through a shliach. We're not darshanim in terms of like an amoira to learn that halacha. And number two, the purpose of the mitzvah is what? To be mar bereos. Pal, I don't have time for you. I'm going to send my 3-year-old to send you a shalach manos and
UPS.
I'll UPS.
No. UPS you don't have to give money to.
Now there's a shaila, if it has to be through a shliach, does the shliach have to be a Jew?
But refusing the Mishloach Manos, lessons you're causing more harm than good.
Right, so there are different ways of refusal. So nice of you. I'm running out. I appreciate you thought of me. I'm going to someone's house. Or they ring the bell. Who's there? Yankel. Have a nice day. So, it depends how you refuse it. Okay. What? So there's actually an interesting shaila. Could a katan be a shliach? Typically a katan can't be a shliach. So Rabbi Glatstein has a chiddush that you could use a katan for a shliach. And the reason is, I wasn't going to get into this, Rabbi Glatstein has a beautiful chiddush. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Glatstein is mesupik. Rabbi Glatstein is mesupik whether a katan can be a shliach. And the Chassam Sofer says that Rabbi Glatstein made a mistake. And that is, when you need a shliach to be like you, then he has to be a gadol, because only a gadol is bar shlichus. But here the Torah doesn't say he has to be like you. The Torah says, send it! So you can send it with a monkey. You can send it with anything. You don't need to be a bar shlichus. It's sending. It's called sending. It's not called sending like you, but it's called sending. Okay. Let's move on. Mar Rabbi said, listen to this case. The Bar Heitev in Siman Tafrei Tzadikei wants to know if you send somebody money, as they say, nothing shows appreciation like cash, right? So you send somebody money, or articles, or kalim, or clothing, and he could sell it immediately for food. Are you yotzei shalach manos? So the Bar Heitev says, l'chayra, yes, but the Terumas Hadeshen says no. Terumas Hadeshen implies no. So here's the question: could you be yotzei shalach manos with an item, a new sefer? You want to send somebody a new sefer for shalach manos. By the way, No, I'm joking. Yeah? Could you be Yotzei Shalach Manos with a new sefer? So l'chayra, it should depend what the reason for Shalach Manos is. And this is brought in the sefer Shas Tshuvas Divrei Yisrael, Rabbi Yisrael Valtz, the Av Bezin of Budapest, Arachayim Siman Reish Chav Beis. And the reason you don't have everything on your sheet is the Shiur was updated. It was updated in the new sefer, but not on the sheets yet. Okay, you have most of it on the sheet. This shaila is cleared by the Divrei Yisrael, and he says it should depend on what the reason for Shalach Manos is. If the reason for Shalach Manos is like the Manos Halevi to create goodwill, how do you think you create goodwill? By giving the guy a Winkies? By giving him chalva? Who eats that? You eat that stuff. Who eats that stuff? Boxer. You know, the guy's going to have to go to a dentist. You know, he's going to have implants or something. So if the reason for Shalach Manos is to create Ava v'Achva, so you could give the guy a new sefer. If you need a good idea of which new sefer, I could have some suggestions. But if the reason for Shalach Manos is so that people have food to eat by their Suda, so they're not going to eat the new sefer, as good as the new sefer might be. It doesn't taste that good. So you can't be yotzei with an item. I would argue, and by the way, the Divrei Yisrael says that if you look in the Hakdama of the Ramaz Perush HaMegillas Esther, what's the name of the Ramaz Perush HaMegillas Esther? Mechir Yayin. And the reason why it's called Mechir Yayin is the Ramah was once in a city, and the water wasn't drinkable, and it was a very depressing time, and there was nothing to eat, and the Ramah sent the Mechir Yayin to his father as Shalach Manos. Now, also, the name Mechir Yayin is the name of the Ramah's commentary on Megillas Esther.
But not Halevi, that's what it's called. He couldn't afford the Mishloach Manos.
It's the exchange of wine, right? In lieu of wine. Likewise, Rav Shlomo Alkabetz wrote the Manos Halevi as Shalach Manos to his father-in-law. So why? Rav Shlomo Alkabetz says, L'shitase! If the whole reason for Shalach Manos is to create Ava v'Achva, what could create more Ava v'Achva than a new sefer? The purpose is so people have what to eat. It ain't going to help. I would argue. I would say, according to nobody, you're yotzei by giving somebody a non-food item. The purpose of Shalach Manos is whatever it is, either to have people have food for the Suda or to create Ava. But they were masaking food. The takana is food. Or it might be for Ava v'Achva, but they were never masaking to give balloons. You know, there are a lot of ways to create Ava v'Achva. I could also create Ava v'Achva by giving you a compliment. But that's just not Shalach Manos. They were masaking food. But anyway, this, according to some poskim, whether you could be yotzei with a non-food item would depend on the Machlokes Manos Halevi and Rosh Hashanah. Now it would come out that the Ramah, who says that if you send someone Shalach Manos, you're yotzei, even though he refuses it, the Ramah is paskening like the Manos Halevi, that the reason for Shalach Manos is to create Ava v'Achva, and l'chayra, then one could argue, the Ramah would hold, you could be yotzei even with a non-food item, unless you learn like the Binyan Sion, that the Pshat in the Ramah is not that he's paskening like Rav Shlomo Alkabetz. The Pshat in the Ramah is he's medayik in the pasuk. It says send, so you sent it. Next question. Great question. Today is what? Monday. What do you know? So you go home and you look in your cabinet and you pack up all the goodies that are left over from last year's Shalach Manos, and you put it in a big bag, and all the stuff in your freezer that you're never going to look at, and you send it to Beryl, and you get an ETA that's going to arrive on Purim. And it arrives on Purim, and Beryl just loves all the rancid stuff that you sent him, and he eats it for his Suda. Are you yotzei or you're not yotzei? Are you yotzei or you're not yotzei? So this shaila is cleared by none other than Rabbi Cheskel Kachli, the author of Shailas Utshuvas Torah Lishma. Now, who's Rabbi Cheskel Kachli? Nobody. There's no such person. Rabbi Cheskel Kachli is none other than Rabbi Yosef Chaim of Baghdad, the Ben Ish Chai, who wrote an anonymous sefer called Shailas Utshuvas Torah Lishma under the pen name Rabbi Cheskel Kachli. And he says that l'chayra it's taloi on the Machlokes, the Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, and the Chumash Hadeshen. According to the Terumas Hadeshen, what's the reason for Shalach Manos? So people have what to eat at the Suda. So the guy has what to eat at the Suda. I sent it out 2 weeks before. Doesn't matter when I sent it. I could have sent it from the moon 5 years before. The mitzvah is to ensure that on Purim a guy has food for the Suda. The guy has food for the Suda. He has a big meal. It doesn't matter when I sent it. The mitzvah is on the recipient to ensure the recipient has what to eat. But like the Manos Halevi, that the purpose is to create Ava v'Achva. So who does the mitzvah devolve upon? The focus is on the giver. That means the giver has to create the Ava v'Achva on Purim. So if he sends it out before Purim and it arrives on Purim, you will not be yotzei the mitzvah. So the Ramah, who paskins seemingly according to the Chassam Sofer like the Manos Halevi, it would come out that the Ramah would paskin under such circumstances, you would not be yotzei, and at the very least, says the Ben Ish Chai, you're not yotzei l'chol hadeyos.
But does it say that if you do Mishloach has to be on the same day?
It doesn't say. But if the rationale...
The reason is that the person should get it.
Mm-hmm.
So my responsibility to send it, and the person should get it on a certain day.
I understand, but if the purpose of the mitzvah is to create something, then it's reasonable that has to be created on Purim, because you have to lay in the Megillah on Purim.
Yes, but it's still
right?
That I have to send it that day. As you said,
If the mitzvah is the guy gets food, he has to get it on Purim. If the mitzvah is to create happiness, to create good feelings, it would have to be, the argument of the Ben Ish Chai is it would have to be on Purim. Comes the Aruch HaShulchan, and the Aruch HaShulchan declares the same shaila. Look at number 12. The Aruch HaShulchan, Siman Tafrei Sadekei, Sivkata and Yodzayim. V'yesh lehistapek. When you send Shalach Manos from far and it got on Purim, are you yotzei? Some say you're yotzei. I say, the Aruch HaShulchan says, you're not yotzei. Because you have to send it on Purim. And then says the Aruch HaShulchan, a whopper. And Bechlal, what's the reason for Shalach Manos? So we say, we know. We've been spending the whole day learning that. Either so people have food for the Suda, or to create goodwill. Says Aruch HaShulchan, a different reason. The purpose of Shalach Manos is for Simcha. It's for Simcha. And therefore says the Aruch HaShulchan, what kind of Simcha is it if you sent it earlier? Seemingly the Aruch HaShulchan holds the Simcha is for the giver. That we know that a person gets joy being able to give. There's a joy in being able to give. So this is really a third reason for Shalach Manos. Not to create friendship, not so people have food to eat, it's for joy. So in the Aruch HaShulchan, now we could clear all the shailas. Well, what if you send a non-food item? Do I get joy? What if the recipient doesn't want it? Do I get joy? Next shaila.
It's joy. It takes me 3 days to make something. And now I have joy because it's finished and now I can give it to him. I started working on it. So
the lashon of the Aruch HaShulchan is, what joy does he have now on Purim?
Because he finished the item that he can give him.
He sent it 3 days ago, so his joy was 3 days ago. But on Purim there's no joy. If the reason is Simchas Purim, if it's a day of Mishta Simcha, so he didn't have any Simcha on Purim. He already finished with the Simcha. Okay, next shaila. Your doorbell rings. Oh, unbelievable! You have a hero sandwich. It's 50 feet long. Wow, that's exactly what I wanted. You can call the caterer. You cancel the plans for the Suda. The best Shalach Manos ever. You're looking at the Shah. Who sent it? Who is it? Me. No name. It's anonymous. And there's a guy in the trees with binoculars. He's looking on. Oh, Baruch Hashem. Does that guy yotzei or is not yotzei? If you send Shalach Manos anonymously, are you yotzei or not? Ask the Ksav Sofer Siman Kuf Mem Aleph. Guess what he says? It depends on the Manos Halevi and the Terumas Hadeshen. If the reason for Shalach Manos is to create Ava v'Achva v'Shalom v'Reyos, you have accomplished nothing. You put the guy in a good mood, but he's thinking in his mind, but I can't stand Yankel. Yankel, next time I see him, I'm going to... But Yankel just sent you a $500 Shalach Manos. Yeah, but you didn't know that. So you're not yotzei anything. But if the purpose is so that Beryl has food for the Suda, so Yankel's yotzei the Shalach Manos because Beryl has food. Beryl, it doesn't matter. It's not to foster any goodwill between Yankel and Beryl. It's just so that Beryl has what to eat. So therefore, the Ramah, who paskins that if the recipient says thanks but no thanks, you're yotzei? That means Ramah seems to paskin like the Manos Halevi. So the Ramah L'chor would paskin that anonymous shalach manos, you would not be yotzei the mitzvah. Let's come back to the question of the Pri Chadash. And we're going to say a novel answer to the question of the Pri Chadash. Pri Chadash's question was, the way the Chassam Sofer explains it, Ramah, why do you paskin if somebody sends, Ruvain sends Shimon shalach manos, you're yotzei, even if Shimon doesn't accept it? How do you know the reason for shalach manos is the Manos Halevi, that it's to create Ava? Maybe it's like the Terumas Hadeshen, that it's so that people have food for their Suda. So I would like to suggest Davar Chadash, B'darach Drosh, how perhaps the Ramah knows that the Manos Halevi is the definitive reason for Shalach Manos and not the Terumas Hadeshen. And this is based on something I saw in Rav Shlomo Warman, who lived in this neighborhood. He was Rosh Yeshiva, the Hebrew Academy in Nassau County. He was a Talmud of Reb Eliezer Silver. He brings in the Sheiros Yosef Chelek Aleph, page Shin Nun, something he heard b'shem Rav Menachem Zemba, Hagoin Rav Menachem Zemba, who was a Rebbe of my Zayda, and my grandfather was a Ben Bayis by Rav Menachem Zemba. My grandfather saw in Rav Menachem Zemba Svarim Shrank. There weren't books, there were manuscripts. He wrote a Perush on the entire Rambam and the entire Yushalmi, a bookcase of manuscripts that were all destroyed in the Holocaust. Menachem Zemba was the preeminent Goin in Poland. So Menachem Zemba set up Hidrosh that actually the Machlokes Terumas Hadeshen and the Manos Halevi is Machlokes Tanoim. Machlokes Tanoim? Yeah. We know the Gemara Megillah. The Talmidim of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai asked him, Rebbe, Mipnei Manos Chayvu Seinem Shel Yisrael Klaya. Why did Klal Yisrael deserve to be destroyed in that generation? Never in our history was there a Gzera Lahashmid Lara Goliabes. What do we do already? So like a good Rebbe, the Rebbe said back to the Talmidim, you tell me. So the Talmidim said, Mipnei Shenenu Misudasai Shaloisai Rasha. They went to the party. So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said, Imkain, only the Jews in Shushan should be destroyed, not the Jews everywhere. So he said, Taka Rebbe, it's a good kasha, so you tell us. Shimon Bar Yochai said, I'll tell you. You know why? Because they bow down to the Tselem in the time of Nebuchadnezzar. So they asked, but Rebbe, if they bow down to the Tselem, then God should not have mercy, have had mercy on them. Bishlam, if there was a meal nishkeferlach. But if they bow down to Avodah Zarah, why did God have mercy on them? So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said, no, they didn't really do it, they only did it externally, but inwardly, their hearts were l'shamayim. Says the Heilige Rav Menachem Zemba, the two reasons of Shalach Manos are dependent on the two possible chatoim that Klal Yisrael did in the times of Purim. If the reason why there was a Gzera on us is because we went to the Suda, so in order to counteract that, we have our own Suda, and to ensure that everyone has a Suda, Terumas Hadeshen says, everybody sends gifts to each other, to ensure that everyone has food for their Suda, and that would be the reason for Shalach Manos. But according to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, that the reason why Klal Yisrael deserved to be destroyed is because they bow down to Avodah Zarah. So to counteract that, the Medrash says in the Medrash Tanchuma Parshas Tzav, Gadol HaShalom Sha'afilu Yisrael Oivdin Avodah Zarah Imheim Bechabura Achas Ein Midas Hadin Noigas Bahem. That Shalom and Ava v'Achva overcomes even Avodah Zarah, like the pasuk says, Chaver Atzavim Ephraim Hanachloi. Ephraim do Avodah Zarah ba'Achdus, so let it be. So how do you overcome Avodah Zarah? Achdus. If the reason we deserve to be destroyed was because of Avodah Zarah, they were Masakin Shalach Manos to display Achdus to overcome that. So who was right? The Talmidim or Rav Shimon Bar Yochai? Shimon Bar Yochai. Because the Talmidim said it was because they were nana from the Suda, but Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said that only the Jews in Shushan should have been destroyed. So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was right. So what's the reason we deserve to be destroyed? Avodah Zarah. So then what's the definitive reason for Shalach Manos? Achva, the Manos Halevi. So maybe you could say, B'derech Drush, you know how the Ramah knows, Lamaisa, that the definitive reason for Shalach Manos is the Manos Halevi, not the Terumas Hadeshen? Because the reason for Shalach Manos must be the Manos Halevi. It's because ultimately the maskana of the Gemara was that the reason we deserved to be destroyed was Avodah Zarah, and connected that they were Masakin Shalach Manos, Laharbois Ava v'achva, and maybe based on this, at least b'derech drush, this is a smach to the yesod of the Manos Halevi. Let's conclude. I came across two very novel explanations for the mitzvah of Shalach Manos, not brought in the Poskim. So far, Lamaisa, in the Poskim, we have 2 or 3 reasons for Shalach Manos. We have the Terumas Hadeshen, people have food to eat for the meal. We have the Manos Halevi to create achva. We have the Aruch HaShulchan mitam simcha. There was a great rabbi by the name of Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, who authored the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. He also wrote a sefer on Chumash called Apiryain. And he's bothered by the following question. What's a greater mitzvah? Shalach Manos or Matanos Avyanim? Matanos Avyanim. Why, of course? The Rambam says a very beautiful language. The lashon of the Rambam is Mutav Hilchos Megillah Perek Beis Halach Yud Zayin. Like Rabbi Berkowitz says, Mutav la'adam laharbos b'matanos avyonim and laharbos b'sudasai uv'shlayach manos she'ein shem simcha gedoyla umufuara ela l'sameach levanim v'yisoymim v'amanos v'gerim. There's no greater simcha than to make joyful the downcast. So, right? Everybody agrees. So, therefore, it is somewhat of a pella that people spend hours and hours and hours and dollars and dollars and dollars. Shalach Manos becomes like a preoccupation already from Tu B'Shvat. And Matanos Avyonim, what's the exact shear? A yotze with $4.97? Your yotze? Okay. I mean, really, you should give much more money for Matanos Avyonim and give one guy a jelly bean and a kedem. Fine. But the Yikar mitzvah is Matanos Avyonim. So why, ask Reb Shlomo Alkabetz, Reb Shlomo Gansfried, does the pasuk put it first? It says, Mishloach Manos Ishlereyehu Matanos Avyonim. Why does it first say Shalach Manos and then Matanos Avyonim? It should say Matanos Avyonim and Shalach Manos. And B'chlau, why do we need Shalach Manos? So Rav Shlomo Gansfried quotes the Gemara we mentioned earlier. Remember when the girls went dancing on Tu B'Av? So everybody had to borrow. Why even the rich girls had to borrow? So not to embarrass the other ones. So here's the problem. Purim presents us with a big problem. If there was no mitzvah of Mishloach Manos, then basically anytime you see somebody ringing someone's doorbell, you know the Gevir is giving tzedakah to the Ani V'Avyon. So it's embarrassing. So basically, all the Aniyim are going to be turning off their lights, closing the shutters, and, the Aniyim are going to go to Florida for Purim, not the opposite, right? Because it's going to be embarrassing for them. So the great cover-up is, says Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, Chazal were masakein, that all the friends, all the Besser mentioned, they give gifts to each other. This way, when you actually Mekayim the Ikar Mitzvah Matanos Avyonim, it's not going to be embarrassing for the Avyon, because maybe you're giving him Mishloach Manos. The Mishloach Manos is a scam. It's a cover-up. It's a cover-up for Matanos Avyonim. That's why it says it first, because it's the Hakdama to Matanos. Once we have everybody going with the Laffy Taffies, so then when you give out the Matanos Avyonim, it's not going to be embarrassing. That's the pshat. So according to this, is a completely new reason for Mishloach Manos. L'chayr, according to this, if the other guy refuses, what's the nafkamina? If you send it before, what's the It's just a cover-up. I don't know if this is brought as a halachic reason, but at least it's brought in the Baal Kitzur Shulchan Aruch in the Sefer HaPeryan. One more reason I came across in the Sefer Meir Einei Chachamim from Rav Meir Yechiel of Oistrovtza, and he says a wonderful reason. He says, in the times of Purim, what was the reason for the Gzeira? Because we bow down to Avodah Zarah. So we bow down to Avodah Zarah. If you're an Ovid Avodah Zarah, you're not my friend. You're not Reyehu. You're not B'chal Misach. I'm not your friend. Now the truth is, I didn't really bow down to Avodah Zarah because I know in my heart I was Libi L'Shamayim. But I don't know what's going on in your heart. So as far as I'm concerned, you've left the fold. As far as you're concerned, I left the fold. So basically, we're not friends anymore. Because you're not, I hold you're not B'chal Misecha, you hold I'm not B'chal Misecha. So no, the Klal Yisrael is not Bereus anymore. But after Purim, they had a big kasha. Why did God save us? If we all served Avodah Zarah, we should have known, it must be the same way, libi l'shamayim, libcha l'shamayim. So we're taka friends again. So in order to sort of reestablish the reyos, they're masake and shachmanas. Or you could say it, so long as I thought that you really bow down to Avodah Zarah, I can't eat your food. You're not trustworthy. And I'm not trustworthy, because as far as you're concerned, I bow down to Avodah Zarah, b'leiv shalem. But after the Gzera was rescinded, so I have a kasha, why the Rebbeinu Shalom rescinded? So it must be like the Gemara answered, Heim lo asu ela lefanim. They did it externally. So now I could taka eat from your food. So the first time they were able to exchange food was in the times of Purim, and that would be another reason for Shalach Manos. So, Mirz Hashem, we should all be zoicha to mekayim Shalach Manos, according to all 5 reasons we learned today. So that people should have food for the Suda, to create Ava v'Achva, mitam simcha, to cover up for matanas avyonim, and to denote that all of Klal Yisrael are reim after the episode of the Tzelem. Rabbi Isai, looking forward to a Freilich Purim. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.